I've missed you guys, and I hope you missed me too because I am back with even more interesting information, new people, new faces. I mean, everything I promised you earlier, I'm here to deliver. So today we have a very, should I say, interesting guest here with me, or how should I describe it? I'm lost for words, ladies and gentlemen. I'm lost for words. So, when I got his profile and I read it, I was like, the one thing that stuck out to me that he had a distinction in his master's program. Distinctional, like he is. Or should I let you introduce yourself? I can do that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the honor. So his name is Jeffrey CTO. Anyways, this is my lovely guest here. We are going to have an interesting conversation, and he is a UK-based physiotherapist, I believe. How is life as a physiotherapist in the UK? What's the difference? I mean, you were a physiotherapist here in Ghana first, right?
So I worked in Ghana for I think 4 years before leaving. So here I was more focused on I was more in the school environment, so working in a school in an inclusive school with children with disabilities. So that was my primary focus. In the UK, I'm in a clinic focusing on children with disabilities also, but a different therapy approach.
So is that you've always been interested in children, or you just found yourself there?
It's a difficult question to answer.
I
I would
need to
say
answer.
that I've always known I like neurodevelopmental conditions and always like neurological conditions. So it was either adults or children. And I found myself going towards children because of exposure from a young age. Seeing my mom working in a school with children with disabilities. So I got exposed to that.
Was your mom a physiotherapist?
No, she was a educational, special needs education.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So, how was your journey like transitioning from Ghana to the UK? How was it like?
What do you mean?
I mean, you were a physiotherapist here. Did you go to the UK to start work as a physiotherapist, or you went to school and then you later? How was it like?
So before I was going, I was applying a lot to like get a job there.
Okay,
Okay.
you had your
Um,
UK license.
I had it a long time ago.
Okay.
So I was applying to get a job there. But it took a while to get my application sorted out. So I had interviews, I had like lots of offers, but it wasn't confirmed yet. Then I had the master's offer,
Okay.
and that was confirmed. And so I decided to go for that because I knew that having that would elevate my skill level immediately. I had the feeling of that. So the moment I went, within a month of being there, or even less than a month, I had a job offer.
Oh,
I had two job offers actually.
Interesting.
So yes, so then I was working in the two companies at the same
Same
time,
time, while
and they both
schooling.
knew, yeah, while schooling. So they both knew I was working for
Oh,
each
wait,
other
as physio
as a
job?
pediatric physiotherapist in the two companies. Because I wanted to know at the end of the day where I would want to stay with.
Oh, okay. So are you with
Yes.
one of them now? That's nice. That's nice. So are there certain peculiarities when it comes to pediatric neuro rehab, or it's just like the normal adult neuro rehab?
No, so it's completely different. So my first month was I wouldn't say terrible, but it was more of like trying to start afresh. I felt like a new person
Person
there.
altogether.
Honestly, it was a different approach, because the clinic I was working in focuses on sensory integration as their mode of therapy offer. Okay, and that is something we have not learned in any form. When it comes practically or theoretically, we've not learned it. So it was something.
Okay, so let me take you a little back to your journey in Ghana. How was working as a physiotherapist in Ghana like compared to the UK? Sorry.
So out here, I was working in a private facility.
Okay.
That's one good thing I would say because I was in the government place for 1 year and I moved to a private.
I thought
Okay.
people usually prefer being in the government sector.
I mean, I like to be in charge of what I want to do, the therapy I want to do, the processes I want to follow, the standards I want to follow. In the government, you just have to follow what is being done there. I like to bring in new things. Okay, and so I had to move. I had the offer and I moved because it was a good offer. So I moved and I realized that okay, whatever I want to bring in, they were really happy to accept that. Like whatever notion I want to bring, in, whatever standards, whatever protocol I want to set in, they were happy for me to implement it because they knew like it was really feasible. And my team lead was very happy. They gave me the room to expand myself, so I was happy there. What I'll say is the therapy approach was more neuromuscular, neurodevelopmental therapy. So that is purely about like gross motor skills, play skills. That was purely muscular, purely physical. We're just going physical approaches here in Ghana.
Okay.
In the UK, it's more sensory approaches. Okay, and I would say that even though the population here, I used to see about 60% of children with sensory processing difficulties or children with autism here in Ghana, we are not focusing on the sensory aspect of the children. We are focusing more on the physical. And I mean, that's the scope of practice as a physiotherapist,
And
physical.
I feel like it's because of where we find ourselves. I mean, a typical Ghanaian parent with a child that has neurological disorder would want the child to function um, um, perfect immediately. I mean, their main concern is how their child can walk, how their child can eat, how their child can, go about
Yeah.
their, daily life. So they're not really concerned about their sensory integration, don't you think?
So basically, when I say sensory aspect of the child, the system of the body doesn't work in isolation. Every part of the body works together. If you isolate and work only with the physical, you're neglecting the sensory. Now, as a physiotherapist, I'm combining the two. So I'm looking at sensory and physical and giving you the best approach for the combination. Rather than seeing an occupational therapist separately who has different goals, seeing a physical therapist who has different goals and combining that. I found myself getting better results when I knew what to do combining the two.
Okay. So I have a question. My question is, you see how Ghanaian physiotherapists are more focused on the physical aspect, and then you integrating the sensory part. What do you think is the actual benefit that they are depriving children from when they do not incorporate these sensory integrations into it?
Okay, so basically, sensory integration looks at incorporating the sensory system. Now, the sensory system has different aspects of it. Okay, so we have the vestibular system, so like that's the movement system. So you jumping, swinging. If you realize, most children here in Ghana have never sat on a swing before. Maybe early stages in the playgrounds, but after that, there's really little to no roller coaster, no swings, nothing happening. Okay, so that's the vestibular system, your movement system. We have the proprioceptive system, that's your touch system, how your body is in space. So if I move my hand like this, I'm throwing a ball. Okay, I can throw a ball, but me being aware of how my hand moves in space is my prop system. Okay, then we have the tactile system, so your touch system. So if I touch you, whether you're sensitive to me or whether you want more touch, whether you want more hugs, whether you want to taste something. Okay, so that's the touch system. We have the auditory system, so whether the noise around is loud. So we have lots of noise here, like car horns, pollution, there's a lot of things happening here. Noise pollution happening. So all that, whether the child is sensitive to that or not sensitive to that, and how you can control all these different systems. The interoceptive systems, like internal organ system, how your body can tell, okay, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm hungry, I want food. All those things to communicate that. So we neglect this aspect, this key aspect when working with the child. So if the child, for example, there's so much noise in the room, and so for example, we have gyms where there's a lot of noise around, but we want to work with the child, or working in a big space, about 10 children working together in a big room. If you are aware of this system, you would know that, okay, this child needs a room for himself, or this child needs a dark space, or this child needs a lot of balls around, or this child needs a mat to squeeze himself in. You'll be aware of the sensitivities, the difficulties that the child is facing, yes, and then you can incorporate that to your physical activity. So if I want to play with the football, rather, instead of just kicking a ball, saying that kick a ball, I'm aware of what is happening in the sensory system, whether the child even can stand on one leg, whether the child can swing, whether the child can hold an object to kick. You have to be aware of whatever is around the sensory system to then incorporate the physical. So being aware is very important.
Yeah, sure. I mean, most of these children that we find here in our system that have neurological disorders tend to behave in ways that we may refer to as not normal, because they may be walking, but like you said, they are not really aware of their environment. So sometimes they easily trip. Their balance is poor. They don't know how to hold something properly. When to move their hands sometimes, when to move their legs sometimes. So I think it's something that we have not been paying much attention to, because over here we believe as far as the child can walk, I mean that's okay. I know, yeah. If my child can, eat, walk, do something. I mean, some people are quite satisfied. They believe it's better than nothing at all. Especially, I feel like when they are diagnosed at first with these neurological disorders, they have this belief that their child may never be able to do this, may never be able to do that. So when they get a little functionality in the physical aspect, I mean, maybe they thought their child will not be able to walk, and now they can walk. So whether or not they are working well does not matter. As far as they are working, they feel like an improvement, or it's okay. So I think that is what is causing most of the neglect when it comes to the sensory integration. So my next question is, what are the most common neurological disorders that we find in our setting? What are the most common ones?
in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say cerebral palsy is one of the highest in Ghana currently. Funny enough, I did the research last year on caregivers' perspectives on home programs among children with cerebral palsy. So basically, I was looking at the perspectives. It's a qualitative study. It's looking at the life experience of caregivers, parents or the aunties, whoever is taking care of the child, what they think about home-based therapy. Because at the end of the day, we have lots and lots of children with cerebral palsy. They can't keep on coming to the clinic. We can't keep on seeing them once a week. How can we incorporate structure at home where they can have therapy every single day and they can actually get results? Because home therapy has big evidence behind it. So how can we incorporate that? So cerebral palsy is a big neurological condition here in Ghana, actually.
So I want to talk like a layman. How would you? What do you think these conditions are preventable?
It's a yes and no question. Answer, sorry, yes and no answer, because there are risk factors or there are predisposing factors to it that I would say yes can lead to, but I will not say cause, can lead to. Okay. And there are causes, direct causes of it that may or may not be cerebral palsy itself. So when I say that in a sense that, so for example, during childbirth, when you have prolonged labor, okay, and the child doesn't get oxygen, so oxygen doesn't get to the brain of the child, then there'll be a brain damage happening that can lead to a form of cerebral palsy. Okay. So the other types that are similar to cerebral palsy, we have periventricular. In fact, there are lots of things that are similar to cerebral palsy. So cerebral palsy on its own is actually a different type of brain attack or brain damage. Okay. So that's something like that. Can you really prevent it? I would say yes or no, because if we had good healthcare systems, you can reduce its occurrence. That can be prevented in a way. Okay. You predisposing the child to, so like you not taking your vitamins, your supplements during birth can predispose the child to certain birth defects. Okay. So there are things that can lead or predispose or can put the child at more risk of it. Okay, but a direct cause, I wouldn't say yes, this is a direct cause. Unlike malaria, they can say mosquito.
Mosquitoes. Yes, I understand. So what can an expectant mother or somebody who wants to be pregnant one day do right now that will reduce her chances of having a baby with some of these neurological disorders?
I mean, first and foremost, you would have to do a genetic markup.
What
So
is that? Can you take us?
yeah, so basically, I mean, here in Ghana, it's very expensive first of all, and most people are
Is it
not.
even common? Is
It's
it something that
common.
people know about?
People don't know about it. But usually, if you have very good counseling before you end up getting married, not even pregnant, but getting married before, I mean, pregnancy and marriage is very dicey here and culturally, but let's say marriage, because here we want you to be married before you give birth. Okay, so let's say before you get married, you should have your genetic markup test done. So we're going to match up the man and the woman's DNA to see the possible gene this so possible gene abnormalities that would occur. Okay, so basically when they mark up the genes together, you see, okay, this is a condition that can result 70% chance of this particular condition. So when you're aware of it, then you can take your necessary steps to prevent it. Because you know, okay, this condition you can get. So what can I do to prevent it?
This is interesting.
So that's the first step.
I think what we usually focus about
This
is
blood group.
genotypes.
Yes.
And
So
genotypes.
I mean, yeah. I mean that also is very important. Blood group genotypes are very
Yeah,
important.
that's the
But genetic
genetic
markup
markup
is very
is-
important because there are rare genetic conditions. Even here in Ghana, I've seen a couple of rare genetic conditions. Condition called ataxia telangiectasis. So it's a very rare genetic condition. About 1 in 100,000 kids get it. But you'd have people get it because of a genetic combination from parents, a recessive genetic combination from parents. So it's very important to know. It's better knowing and taking steps than not
Yeah.
knowing at all.
Do you think where can we get the, because me I haven't heard of it until today. So I don't think it is that common. And even though we think it is here, do you know any place that people can go and do these genetic markups?
I don't mention names of hospitals.
Okay.
But I would say that the private facilities usually have
Okay.
them.
Okay.
Private, and you can always ask your doctor. He will always refer you. We have them in Ghana. It's expensive, but it's important because it's better to prevent or know
Yeah.
than not knowing.
So, dear viewers, I mean, you've heard it all. So now we are not just looking at our genotypes and our blood group. Now you have to go and check our genetic markup. So before you get serious with that relationship that you're in, that they are stressing you, make sure you go and check your genetic markup, because you can leave the relationship and get married, and don't say I didn't tell you. That's why you're watching this video, to inform you and to make you know some of the things that you can do to prevent some of these neurological disorders from happening. I mean, it's very educating. So, I understand you use home-based gaming exercises, like virtual gaming. I know of the Nintendo Wii remote. I don't know how it is operated though. And then tele rehab. Looking at, okay, let's take a typical case in Ghana. Cerebral palsy is the most common. So let's take cerebral palsy case. How would you tackle it with these therapies that you use over there? And what is the difference in Ghana? What would you do if you were in Ghana? And what would you do now that you are in UK? What's the difference?
So I would say that the Nintendo, the Y games they're not too expensive, relatively not expensive. That's the right word. Okay. Now, if we can use that device, those technologies here, usually the children with cerebral palsy do not have big social involvement, so they don't go out to play, they don't go to playgrounds, they don't play with friends. Usually, they don't play games, they don't play video games.
They're mostly kept away.
Exactly. And one huge aspect of development is cognitive development, cognitive involvement. So using the games, for example, the virtual reality, gets the child exposed to social participation activities. So and that's a very big part of development when it comes to play. You letting the child know how to play with the virtual objects. Okay. So the child can wear it on the head and have play a video game. So we have modified sticks that the child can hold and move. That's for children who can move with your hands. You can use your hands to move around. Okay. For the children who have little to no functionality, we have devices where they wear and they watch. So they are in a world. Exactly. So there are devices where they could wear and feel like they are on a roller coaster. They can so the same with the virtual reality device. It's just a head gear that they wear over their eyes. That they would feel like they're in a roller coaster, or feel like there are people are chasing them, or feel like they are running around with other children. So we set different games. The child chooses the game, and we allow the child to play for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that has a big direct connection to social participation and play. So you're feeling like you're moving around. Your vestibular system is being active. Okay, you're reducing anxiety because now you're not even seeing seeing other people. You're not in the sun. You're not running around physically, but your body is being involved, and it teaches the body with time, routine. Okay, so like I'm moving a roller coaster now. My body is getting used to the movements, or I'm on a balance beam, so I'm using my body to navigate on it for balance activities. So all those activities are really very important. They're not too expensive. For the relatively not too expensive, but I feel like in the long run, that's where we can head towards. And for the children who have zero functionality, so they have no eyesight, they could not move their hands. There are other activities that we could usually get them involved with. So like there's an activity that basically applies pressure to the body. So it feels like okay they're on a horse, or it feels like they're being cuddled, or it feels like they're being in water. Okay, so they get that feeling. So it's the same. It's the same toy, but it has the virtual reality aspect to it. So it uses sound waves also, where they feel like okay they are moving, or they're having a rhythm of the vibrations on a horse, or they're having a swaddle or the cuddle movements happening, or in a water movement. So all those things are things that we usually use for calming. Yes, for calming, and we can easily transfer those activities easily.
See, the problem is we are not very much aware of these things. So I feel like the majority of parents that have children with neurological disorders are between the average to lower class in our society. You know, so most of these people even find it difficult to go to the clinics to go and pay money like almost every day to get their child treated. So bringing in these devices sounds like a lot of financial burden on them. So is there a way that we can incorporate, we can have the effect of these devices in other ways?
So I would say that what I really love to focus on is home therapy. Personally, even if you come see me in the clinic, I would always focus on what you can do at home because I see you for just 45 minutes out of how many hours in a week? 24 times 7. I just see you for 45 minutes. So at the end of the day, it falls on the family, the household. What can they do to continue what
So tell us,
established?
tell
Okay.
our viewers what they can do.
So basically, I mean, I'll focus on the home therapy. So the home therapy is activities geared towards the child because every activity is different for every child depending on the case you find. Okay. So now incorporating these devices, if there was a way we can easily get funding for it. Okay, funding. That's the first aspect I'll look at. NGOs, I would say, is the easier method of getting funding. Obviously, it has to start from one, two people, and we move to the wider Ghana. Okay, but if you can start from one school or one environment, moving towards the bigger community, getting two, three devices, and teaching the therapists how to use the device, who in turn teach the parents how to use the device. Because these devices are not, I keep on saying not too expensive because when expensive for the average Ghanaian, I would say. But if they are donations, maintaining it is not too expensive. You just need your electricity, you need your Wi-Fi, and you're okay. So maintaining it is not too expensive. So above typical Ghanaian can use it, but it's how to use it. The person needs to be taught
So
how to use it.
you are concerned about above typical Ghanaian.
Yes.
I am concerned about the average to lower income Ghanaian.
So
Because most of the parents that we see with these children, they are below the what do you call the average Ghanaian, what we would call an average Ghanaian. Some of them can't even afford to buy food for themselves. So some of these devices, they are not in the option at all. I mean, there are so many people that have children with these conditions that don't even have them going to the hospital for therapy because they cannot afford it, and it's a genuine concern. So how will the below average Ghanaian benefit from this? What can we do to help?
yeah, so when you frame the question this way, technology for the below average Ghanaian is a far approach. It's not within their scope. That's the honest truth. Because it will take having literacy skills, it will take you having finances to maintain the devices. It will take you, and when I say finance, I don't mean like a huge chunk of money. Even you paying for your Wi-Fi, you getting electricity is finances. So having that, when we're taking away that, then I'll say we go manually. We go for manual approaches. Okay. Now the manual approaches is basically activities of daily living. Okay. Now you need a caregiver or you need one person or two people responsible for activities for the child. So you'd have one person in the family who is solely responsible for doing activities with the child. Because if you train every single one of the family, it's hard first of all, time consuming, a lot of money. So usually I'll just train one person who I know will spend a lot of time with the child. Okay, I pick 3 to 4 salient activities, very important activities I choose. These activities are very translated, like I can actually translate them to life skills. So I look at fundamental motor movement. So your sitting skills, your lying down skills, your rolling skills, your fundamental motor movement skills. That's one thing every child should be able to focus and know. Okay. So when I pick that skill, then I know that okay, I can teach the parents the steps within the skill or the caregiver the steps within the skill. If, for example, the child cannot roll and the child is 6 years old and the child cannot roll, why would I be thinking of walking? Why would I be thinking of standing activities? Okay, I think of fundamental movements for the child. So the sitting, the rolling, the crawling, your cruising skills. I'll be thinking of that primarily. Then the standing can move on to gain weight bearing capacities with children, but then I'll go to fundamentals for the child. So I'll go with skills, activities, game skills, play skills, fundamental movement skills for each child, rather than thinking of devices. Then I translate those activities into device activities, but then it starts from the grassroots for one activity, for one caregiver. Basically.
So I think what's the best we can do or advise is to focus more on the fundamental ability work that you are talking about for majority of our patients who would not have the financial capabilities to purchase some of these devices. But it will be very interesting if it will be very helpful. I mean, if we get NGOs
Yeah.
and people who are in bigger opportunities that can afford to buy some of these equipment, if not for individual patients, at least ones that they can have access to, maybe in groups, maybe they take turns, you come to the hospital, you get access to these things. I mean, it may not be an everyday thing since it's a group thing, but I think it will be a step towards and it will help. And if it becomes common, I feel like people will pay more attention to it and then people will be more interested in purchasing these things and supporting, donating and all these things, and it will be very helpful. So what are your closing remarks? What would you want to
I'd want to say, I want to add on what you said that um, when it comes to skills, most Ghanaians feel like they're repeating, or most people I've encountered feel like repeating the same activity with a child is that stressful. I've been doing standing for 2 years, 3 years. I don't see any results. That's what I usually hear. But I would say that when you want results, there are so many principles of neuroplasticity we follow, like how the child can learn an activity. Okay, and repetition is very important. It's one of the important things we have to look on. You repeating a routine for the child. Once I repeat how to take a step every single day, I would eventually learn how to take a step. If I learn how to sit every day with little support or with some support or with 75% support, gradually reducing my support I'm giving the child will learn how to maintain that support. Okay, so you repeating, you making the skill or the activity salient. So the child should want the activity. The child should want to throw a ball. The child should want to hold a rattle. Something the child likes. You don't bring something the child doesn't like and expect the child to learn it. So certain things are very important for us to keep on practicing. Because believe me, the more you practice, you have to practice the right way, not just practicing, but the right way. Because when you practice a wrong skill, the child is going to learn a wrong skill. So you have to make sure the right skill you're doing and practicing is what the child actually needs, and not you're diverting from what the child is supposed to be doing.
All right, so you've heard it all. I mean, so we've come to understand that repeating the right things that our children or our patients need is very vital to their development and to their recovery. So those of you come to the hospital and complain that they are doing the same thing over and over again, just know that it is the repetition of the correct things that will bring about these improvements or this what do you call it, management that we are looking for. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I mean, I would love to ask more questions, but time is not on our side, so we'll have to wrap up. And it has been interesting. So this is Jeffrey CTO. So I really like the CTO. CTO02, an advanced physiotherapy practitioner specializing in sensory integration. It's been really nice to have you. I would hope to see you very soon on our platform. All right. So see you in our next episode.
See you.
Bye.